And here we go, another edition of ThursDIAZ. We keep on rolling. It's going to sound a little echoey because I am in the bubble. As you can see by my wristband, hello to everybody that's going on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you may be. Beto and Rand. And I just want to say thank you so much. I was looking at some of the numbers that we get for the podcast, and humbling the fact that a lot of people go and spend time with us. And I said it, those of you that listen on the podcast app, whether you're on iTunes or Spotify, we're actually now on Google Play. Thanks to somebody who brought that up to me. We ready to go, and I don't care about the numbers. I just love the interaction that we get from you. And when people say, "Hey, are you doing it? Are you doing it?" I'm here for you. And I look forward to it every single week, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Do me a favor, though. When you go on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and also tell other people to subscribe. We got over 600 followers on the YouTube page, which I didn't even know, right? I was like, what the heck's going on here? And yeah, that's pretty cool. And then on the download on the ThursDIAZ on iTunes and all that other stuff, rate, review, subscribe, leave all those messages. All right, those are the commercials. What's going on right now? Well, I am in Indio at the Golden Boy Bubble. Joel Diaz is actually sent me a message. He's in Istanbul at the airport, traveling back as he's going to arrive. I guess he's going to lose a day. I think it's Friday where he's at, wherever it may be. He's going to arrive, and then he's going to work a Beck the Bullies fight on a Saturday. But Roberto Diaz is around. Roberto forgot his laptop, but I said, no, Roberto, we can do this with your phone, and hopefully it doesn't freeze that much. You're there. Bobby, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm in the bubble here at the hotel, and excited, man. Excited. One, because obviously we're doing what we love, and we're a couple nights away from a big show, and you know, it gives us a little sense that things are slowly but surely moving in the right direction.
Okay, so because Roberto is on his phone, there's going to be a delay on his picture. So, Roberto, don't worry about your picture. Your audio sounds fine. So, we'll be good, right? Because everybody's watching it right now. The audio sounds real good. So, we're ready to go. So, don't worry about the picture, Bobby. Just tell the stories we are going on. Right now, let me just say hello to everybody that's on here. Victor Granillo, John Duarte. Hey, John Duarte's in the bubble. Eddie Aguilera, Marco Favela, the Green Eye Bandit, Juan Urea, Aldair Gonzalez, who's making fun of Roberto. You got a haircut. See, Aldair, that's why you're the assistant to the assistant. The assistant to the assistant. The kid has so much promise. Yeah. Like I said, Roberto, yeah, Roberto, you just keep talking. Don't worry about your picture as we'll get through it, because your picture is going to come in and out, because we're also dealing with hotel Wi-Fi. So don't worry about that. For those of you guys wondering, we're going to get Toño. We are not going to get Toño today because I don't want Toño, because Toño let me down. I'm going to tell you why Toño let me down today. So I wake up and I have neck issues. So that's part of the reason why I can't run as much or anything else like that. And I have a pinched nerve in my neck. There's an impingement there. They've told me they want to do surgery and all that other stuff. So I wake up this morning, and anytime I'm in a hotel, I am just screwed. It's bad for me because the hotel pillows do me wrong. I always travel with my own pillow. I forgot my special orthopedic pillow. Yes, I'm in my 40s. Woke up this morning, neck was bad. I called Toño. Toño, I need a chiropractor. I need a sobador. I need somebody. Somebody need to help me. Toño gives me a number. This is my guy. This is my guy. This is my guy. I call him, and I tell him, oh, I was referred by Joel Antonio Diaz. Oh, great, great, great. I can see you next week. Like, I got to take a COVID test in 3 hours. I'm going in a bubble. And so, Toño, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing, Toño. That's why Toño's not coming on the show. So we're ready to go. Roberto, how are you feeling? You getting ready for this weekend's fight?
Everybody knows you're in the penthouse suite, and I'm in the little closet.
I am not even at the main hotel. Here's what, look, I am such a VIP. I got tapatio ramen.
Oh my God, never seen that before in my life.
In Indio, they got whatever you need. So, Roberto, cheers. I did get my wine. I'm ready to go.
Ooh, Miralo, he did come prepared.
And I'm putting the wine into my coffee cup.
you're used to the bubble life. See, I didn't come prepared. I'm like, I don't even have snacks or anything.
You don't have anything?
Nada, cero.
Oh, Bobby, got chips.
Ramen, tapatio ramen.
Look, I even got my own little coffee cups. I'm ready to go.
Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Bobby, what do you need?
I didn't come prepared. I showed up.
Yeah.
I'm
Gancitos?
like, wow, you are definitely prepared.
But since I knew that it's ThursDIAZ with fancy Roberto Diaz, oh yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, míralo, con
Little
su
prosciutto.
prosciutto y todo. Wow, con queso y todo. Wow,
Mira,
I'm
mira,
serious. You are definitely prepared for the bubble.
mira nomás.
Now I'm jealous. I'm gonna have to go in. As long as you know what, you're in the bubble. I'm gonna go to your room because you have all the good stuff.
I'm at a different hotel. Estoy con los pobres.
Yeah, but you have with a better fancy treats.
Yeah, but we are ready to go. All right, Roberto, now let's get going about the fights this weekend. Oh, what happened to my light? Jojo Diaz, the main event against Shakra Ramidov, a tough fighter from Tajikistan representing Russia. That's going to be a tough scrap. They had the final press conference today. Joe Martinez was moderating it. That's a even though it's a mandatory, it's a good fight for Jojo, isn't it, this weekend?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. Sometimes mandatories don't really mean the best fighters, fighting for the world title. I think in this case, on Saturday night, you have two mandatories that are actually deserving of the world title and fighting, where both champions are in danger. I mean, these are two 50-50 fights, two undefeated challengers, and really two mandatories. I mean, they are number one guys in the division.
Jojo, if Jojo progressed for this year, what's in store for him?
Jojo's made it clear to us, you know what, I want to fight the best. Obviously, this is a mandatory. He's fighting one of the best in his first fight, an undefeated guy that's coming in very hungry. But should everything come out right, I mean, he's made it clear and mentioned that he wants to unify the title and be the only champion at 130 pounds and show the world and the fans that he is the best fighter in the division.
And that'll be Saturday night on the Zone. You can check it out. Joseph Diaz Jr. is the main event. We're going to break down the fights for that. Okay, Marco Favela. That's a good question, Marco. You know what? You're right, Marco. That's a good question. I appreciate you asking that because not everybody understands that. Let's forget it. Can you explain a mandatory, Roberto, for someone who doesn't know boxing?
Yes, absolutely. A mandatory is most of the time when an organization does an eliminator between the two top guys in the division, and the winner of that eliminator becomes the mandatory challenger to the world champion. In this particular case, both your world title fights on Saturday night are the both champions are facing their mandatories. Now, once you face your mandatory, should you win, defend your title successfully, you have what is called a voluntary period where you can fight any of the ranked fighters between the top 15 of the world, and at your pleasure, at your discretion to say, all right, you know what, I want to fight number 15 or I want to fight number 10. That's called a voluntary. But when you have to do your mandatory, which is normally once a year, you're fighting the number one guy or the guy that's been there, deserving that shot in most cases.
That's a good question, Marco Favela.
Yes, it is.
Now, Roberto, how do you become a mandatory? I'm asking for a guy named Beto in the bubble.
Yes, well, that's it. I mean, you move your way up in the ranks. You're winning fight, after fight. I mean, you could come off loss and then come back and win 2 or 3 fights and become number one or the top guy. Maybe there is no number one. Sometimes it's vacant in some organizations, but you're number 2, you're the highest rated. But most of the time, a mandatory is done when number 1 fights number 2, and the winner, that's called an elimination bout. The winner becomes the mandatory.
Ah, okay. Now, if you're the champion, what happens if you don't fight your mandatory?
Well, you have a period again that you have a voluntary period in your title reign where you can fight other than the mandatory. But once that time period's over, you must face your mandatory. You're given a certain time um, to do that, and if you don't, the organization could strip you of your title, and then that mandatory fights somebody else for the vacant title.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on going with this because these are actually good topics because everybody says what's going on with this. If you're the mandatory, you know how you get there. What is a step aside?
Okay, you might be the mandatory to the world champion, but the world champion is going to do maybe a bigger fight, or there's something, a unification, or something really big that he can't do as mandatory. But as long as the mandatory says, look, I'm willing to step aside for a certain amount and let you go on and do that fight, but after that, whoever wins, I'm still the mandatory. You guys have to give me my opportunity. So there is step asides. It happens. It's something that's worked out between the parties involved.
Do guys get paid for step aside?
Yeah, that's the step aside fee. There's a step aside payment in
That's
most
good,
cases.
right? If you're the fighter, you're the mandatory. They step aside. They just give you a check to walk away.
Yes,
Damn. Okay.
but they're also prolonging their opportunity. Remember, when these fighters start their boxing career, um, yes, obviously the financials is important, but their dream is to become a world champion. And there's cases where no, I don't want to step aside, and you know what, I want to fight for my world title. And every case is different, because should you go in there and lose that world title opportunity, then you start thinking, man, step aside, because you get paid when you fight for the world title, but that step aside money would have been a little extra. I could have made more, but again, it's case by case.
Oh. All right. Okay. This is good. This is good. It's learn your boxing terminology with matchmaker Roberto Diaz as we move on, because you know what, I get it. Like me as a broadcaster, I know the basic terms, but when I'm broadcasting a fight, I try not to use the terminology of the step aside of the man, all that other stuff, because when you're watching the fight, you just want to see the chingazos. You don't want to get into the business and the politics of that. So it's pretty good to talk about and understand what's going on, be a knowledgeable fan. What up, Chew Your Beer? My man who's in the 818, Sulem Urbina, um, says, didn't Kid Chocolate give up his title for some good money? So you can give up your title also?
Yeah, you could always vacate the title. There's been many cases where champions vacate their titles in the past, in the history. I mean, it happens. Um, if I remember correctly, Kid Chocolate's circumstance was he had a mandatory due. The fighter was a Russian kid from that was signed to Top Rank. I believe it might have been Korobov. And Golden Boy and Top Rank went into a purse bid, and out of left field, Rock Nation came in and won the purse bid. That's when they basically made their announcement that, hey, we're a boxing promoter, and they overpaid, or they paid a lot of money to be the promoter of that fight. But Kid Chocolate vacated the title, and obviously didn't defend the title, so that fight never took place. Rock Nation basically didn't do the show.
Simple as that. Simple as that. It's the business of what you deal with, Roberto. There's so many. Like, how did you learn all this stuff?
Well, I mean, you're in the situations that I mean, look, with boxing, there's so many different routes that can be taken. Recently, I read this morning or this afternoon that uh, Zurdo
Ramirez.
walked away from he walked away from his interim title today. He made that decision. So it happens. It happens. He might have, decided, look, I know they had a purse bid last week. It got postponed. I guess tomorrow was the purse bid. And today I read that he's not pursuing that interim title at this time.
Okay. The business side of it. So you guys want to learn some questions, learn some stuff about matchmaking, what goes on? There you go. Marco Favela. This wasn't even supposed to be asked the matchmaker, but these are good questions. How do multiple weight class champions meet their mandatories?
Today, today you don't see that much. You don't see that many multiple world champions. Like basically, you see them. Well, you see them once they go in division by division. You don't see them uh, having the titles of different divisions at the same time. But if that's the case, if there is those cases where Canelo held a couple divisions at the same time, he's going to have to do his mandatories of each division. Now, you may have, this is where it gets a little complicated. You may have a unified world champion holding all the belts in one division, and each organization may have a different mandatory. So that's the tough part. And that's where, okay, today I have a mandatory with the WBC, but tomorrow I have a WBO mandatory, and then I have the IPA. So it's like they're doing mandatories throughout the year. There should be a way that the organizations work together and say, look, the number one guy should be the number one guy across the board when it is a unified champion like that, because otherwise he's doing mandatories all the time, and there is no voluntary period.
And that's when you have the voluntary period. That's when you get the fights that you really do want. Man, my hair is crazy today.
Not so much that you really do want, but imagine as a champion, if you had to do mandatories all the time and only mandatories, you're only facing the number one guy. I mean, it's either going to cut your range short, or it's going to put a lot of tough fights, fight after fight after fight. And I'm not saying the voluntaries are any easier, because you're still facing the top 15, but you're doing a voluntary. For instance, Rene Alvarado and Roger Gutierrez that we had in January.
Yep.
Even though Roger Gutierrez was like number 2 in the world, he was not a mandatory to Rene. Being a voluntary, I'm giving you the opportunity to fight for the world title when you're still not the mandatory. In the event you beat me, there's a rematch clause that you have to give me the chance now. And that's what we have in that particular case. Roger has to give Rene now the rematch, which was in the contract, and that'll give us a trilogy now.
Look at that. Everybody jumping in right now. We got people in Las Vegas, Arturo Alvarado in Texas, Jason in Dallas. So we got the Southwest checking in. If you're watching us right now, Coach Diaz is traveling back from Istanbul, Turkey. He will be at Fancy Springs on Saturday for Beck the Bullies fight. I'm in the bubble at one hotel. Roberto's in the bubble at the other hotel. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, don't say, oh, Roberto's frozen. We already know that. He's on his phone, so the connection is a little bit slower, but the audio sounds really good. So it's pretty interesting stuff right now. We're going to get into the fights. We're getting into all the other stuff, but we're breaking down the background of what goes on. And I like that. This is interesting of what you're saying. It's there's a reason that guys vacate belts now, because it's just the other business side of it. Roberto, what's the prestigious belt? Which is the one that fighters want?
Well, I think in its own, I mean, all you become a world champion, you're a proud world champion, yes, because it shows the hard work, and it shows, it shows basically that your talent and your hard work has paid off, and it gives you a sense of fulfillment. You hear from all kinds of young fighters that I always wanted to win this belt. I think a lot has to do with the country. WBC's home is in Mexico, so I think a lot of times you'll hear the Mexican fighters say, I want to hold the WBC belt, the green and gold belt, because my idol, Raton Macias or Julio Cesar Chavez held that belt. Where on the other hand, there's the WBO, based in Puerto Rico, has had some great champions. I mean, Oscar had the WBO belt. Miguel Cotto held the WBO belt. So it's Marco Antonio Barrera, Nassim Hamed. Then there's the WBA, the organization that's the oldest organization in boxing over, I think it's close to 100 years. And then they're based out of Venezuela. And then you have the IBF, which is the organization that's based in the U.S. That's the title. For instance, this Saturday, Jojo defends his IBF title, and Patrick Teixeira defends his WBO title. So you have 2 different organizations. And then there's many others, but those are the 4 primary organizations that the world recognizes and most of the fighters want. I'll tell you personally, I may get a lot of. I'll probably get a lot of complaints from my dear friends at the organizations, but one of the most prestigious belts out there, without taking any. I mean, again, a champion's a champion, and in their mind, and rightfully so, they want to fight for the belt they won, and when they win it, they're proud of it. But the ring belt is also a great belt because it does show you most of the time, in order to win the ring title, you win it by number one beating number two. When Marco Barrera beat Eric Morales the third time at super featherweight, I contacted Ring and I said, hey, we've just beat the number one guy in the division. We won the WBC belt, but can you send us a ring belt? And they said, no, it doesn't work like that. You guys came from featherweight. You weren't even ranked at 130, and you beat. But now, if you fight them again, you're number one against number two, you can get the ring belt. And I'm like, okay. So there's rules and regulations to everything, but it goes back so many years, and so many great champions have held that belt that it has a lot to do with who's held that belt. Muhammad Ali held that belt. Well, I want the belt that he held, and again, once you become champion, you're proud of the hard work you put in.
Yeah, of course. It's you want to have the belt around you. Salem Urbina saying, the ring belt. She said that earlier. Tonio Diaz said the WBC, because that's the one that Chavez always had. WBC is the green belt. So that's the one, and you're right. It's you want to just get there and win it. It doesn't matter what division which organization you're winning it, and it's just you have it. And having interviewed many guys that win a championship inside the ring, and you can feel the emotion in them in that moment. This is an interesting one. Who makes the belts? Like each organization, is there a guy who's out there making all the belts for everybody?
Yeah, if you see the belts, there's some beautiful belts. Uh-huh. They are some beautiful belts, and there's a company in the East Coast that makes belts. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you the name, but it's very famous. They make. I think a lot goes into them because they are beautiful belts. You'll see some imitations and knockoffs, and of course, it's like any knockoff or everything. You see how it's done cheap, and you realize, hey, you know what? That's when you go to the official belt makers.
Okay, so there's one guy who's in his garage making a bunch of belts.
I don't know if it's in the garage, but I'm sure he has a fancy garage.
Yeah, but the leather, those belts are heavy. I've having covered other sports, you never want to touch the trophies. I've been around the World Series trophy and the Stanley Cup when you're not allowed to touch, and the Lakers trophy for the Larry O'Brien. It's cool, but being the belt, you're guys walk around with their belt in their case. Sometimes they go to camp, to see it, but it's pretty cool to see one in person in that ring. Here's a good question from Min24 from Texas. How does the ring exchange happen? The belt exchange happen after the fight? How's that work?
Okay, so let's say you have the world champion who holds the belt, loses title that night. You give an opportunity to the new champion in the ring. He gets presented your belt, because once you earn that belt, it's your belt. You take that belt home, it's yours. You hang it on the wall, you frame it, that's your belt. But should you lose a fight, the new champion will walk out with your belt. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, there's an exchange back in the dressing room, somebody from your corner. In some cases, I've seen fighters go and take the former champion, their own belt back and say, here, this is yours. But that then you, as a new champion, the organization will ship you your new belt, and you'll get that, within a week or two.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So afterwards they gave it back to them. So you just walk out for the pictures.
You just do it for the pictures, for that moment that, I want to feel like I got the title.
Yeah.
I remember a case, the new champion, sometimes they don't know, it's a first for them. It's a new experience. So there's an excitement. You win the belt, and they forgot to give the belt back to the champion who didn't, who had lost the fight. And I'm walking at the MGM through the casino, heading over to meet. I'll tell you, it was Jose Benavides against Mauricio Herrera, and although we didn't agree with the scorecards, Jose Benavides was declared the winner and new champion. As I'm walking over, leaving the MGM and walking through the lobby, I see Jose Benavides with the belt and taking pictures and everything, and I'm like, "Hey, Jose, that's Mauricio's belt." Oh, yeah. Well, I need the belt. I'm actually going to go see him. So, they gave me the belt, and I ended up walking into the club or the restaurant area where Mauricio and his family were. And I said, here's your belt back. But that is something that, it is yours to keep. You earned it.
Tonio Diaz says if it's a vacant belt, you take it home. Okay. All right, here's another one.
If it is a vacant belt that night, there's a belt there for you to fight. The winner takes it home that night.
Oh, that's cool. All right. I'm learning something new. Arturo Alvarado, how do you get your picture on the WBC belt? That's right, because they have little buttons, right, on the WBC belts. I've seen that. So how do you get on that?
Those are little ceramics. That are done in Mexico City, and there's a person out there that makes them on the ceramics. You if you own your belt, you actually can have those ceramics made of you or maybe your opponent or whoever you won the belt from. But the WBC currently has only certain faces there that when you win that belt, you can always exchange them. But right off the bat, I think Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, recently Floyd Mayweather was added, Don Jose Suleiman, of course. There's certain figures, but you can always change those and put yours.
Okay, so Ali is from the WBC by theirs. Okay, I get it now.
Yes, the WBC has certain ones that when you win your belt, they already come with it.
Okay. So Ali, Suleiman, Mayweather, they're there, and then you as a champion, you get to put your own on there. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Jose Martinez has a question. Can a organization put a rehydration weight limit, or is that done by the A side of the fight? How does that work? The rehydration clause.
The IBF has, and this is a good question, and people sometimes misunderstand it. The IBF has a 10-pound rule, which means the day of the weigh-in, you must make what the weight of the division is. For instance, come Saturday, JoJo is the IBF champion. Him and his challenger must make 130 pounds or less. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The following day, on fight day, there's a set time when both fighters have to reweigh themselves. And nobody can be above 10 pounds. So in other words, nobody can be over 140. But that's only for the moment of that morning. Once they make that weight of 140 or less, then they can go have breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner, and they can go up to whatever the natural body takes them to.
Oh.
So there's a second day weigh-in, but what they're trying to do is it's very similar to when some states had same-day weigh-ins. If you do same-day weigh-in, most likely you're not going to gain 20 pounds between now and fight time. So you're really fighting at the weight class that's more natural to you. If you don't do same-day weigh-ins, then there's a hydration where you can gain 15 to 20 pounds. The average gain
Crazy.
from very low is 5 to 6 pounds, normal 8 to 10, sometimes 12. But then anything above 15 and 20 is excessive. That means you probably cut so much weight that everything stayed with you and stuck to you when you rehydrated.
Now, I don't remember ever hearing about same day weigh-ins. When did they stop doing that?
They're still done. I mean, you'll see small promoters, obviously it keeps costs down because you don't have to house as long and everything. There's still sometimes that do same day weigh-ins. There's some states that I don't know if they're still doing them today, but recently we're still doing them. Again, there's you get a back and forth because in one side you'll get a same-day weigh-in. They won't have enough time to hydrate. What happens if you lose a fight on the same-day weigh? If you're doing the fight and it's the day of the fight, you're doing the weigh-in and somebody misses weight right there, there's no chance of finding a replacement, even though it's happened in the past. But today, it's going to be very, very hard with all the and I'm not saying COVID, with all the medical exams and everything you have to present, but many, Antonio might remember this because it was here at Fantasy Springs, the night of the fight, a fighter in the morning of the fight woke up with face paralysis. And I think we've talked about this. And one of the fighters that was coming to watch the fight, it was a world title fight for the WBO. Isidro El Chino Garcia was here to see. This is back in 99. I believe it was December of 99 here at Fantasy Springs. It was an outdoor venue. It wasn't in the arena where we are on Saturday. And he was coming in to view the fight, to be a spectator, because he said, look, I might be fighting the winner sometime down the line. He was approached. You want to fight for the world title tonight? And he's like, what? I don't even have my trunks, my mouthpiece. I don't have nothing. Believe it or not only did he fight for the world title, Isidro Garcia went home with the belt.
Yeah, I love hearing that
story. He came to watch the fights, and he went home as a world champion.
Yeah, that was one of the first stories we told on ThursDIAZ. I think one of the first episodes, and it's just hilarious. And I think about that every single time that I'm coming out here now. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's going to be somebody who could be in the crowd and they could be fighting for a world title. Not anymore, but it's just the way that things happen. It's pretty cool. All right, you're watching ThursDIAZ, and we're actually just taking questions from you. It started with the belt questions and some real good insight from Roberto about how this gets done. And, it's the boxing world, there's always something new that you learn from it. Eddie Aguilera, boxing champion, who's making JoJo's outfit for this weekend, said, How mandatory is it to wear the organization patch on the trunks of a world title fight? They have to wear that patch?
Yes. I mean, I've seen cases where they don't. It's not recommended. It doesn't go well. Look, you're fighting for my organization, my title, out of respect. But most of the time they do. Most of the time it's the challenger, hey, I'm going to be your champion, and yes, I'm going to wear the patch. And the champion's like, yes, I proudly wear your patch. So it is part of the, you're used to it, and it's part of the culture.
Now, I've also seen it where guys aren't fighting for a title and they have that on their trunks. Why?
Maybe it's a pair of old trunks they had. At one point, they did fight for it.
Okay.
And they haven't updated the trunks, but maybe they're still so loyal to that organization, and you know what? Regardless, I'm always going to be, you were with me, you helped me, and I'm proud, and I'll be your champion one day again soon. So it just depends on the fighter, the individual.
Now, has there ever been a time where you've seen it where somebody's wearing a patch they shouldn't be wearing it?
No, but I remember seeing a fighter, a young fighter, and his team walking into one of the fights with a belt that they hadn't won.
What?
And yeah, it was a belt that they actually had bought, and I was upset, but I didn't do it maliciously. I think they did it because. I'm going to be a champion one day, and I'm going to be proud. And look, I got a belt. I mean, you got to remember. And I told them, hey, you can't walk into the ring with that belt. You didn't win it. And later, I explained so that they wouldn't think I was just being an ass. But the way I see it is, a lot of fighters put their life on the line. It's a serious thing. You can't just go and buy one like at a Walmart and say, I'm a champion. No, you got to earn that. And the way you earn it is, hey, over time and winning fights and winning the right fights and becoming a world champion.
Damn, they walked in with the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast belt. All right.
And I am wearing the Brazilian jersey because Teixeira, Saturday night, Teixeira, Brazil over Argentina. Sorry, Pablo. Sorry, Malbec, but that's what happened Saturday night. Brazil.
Yeah, that leads. Let's transition to that. The card we have Brazil against Argentina on Saturday. The co-feature it'll be Patrick Teixeira from Brazil, Golden Boy fighter against Brian Casano from Argentina. That's a good scrap at 154 pounds. They know each other, but Roberto, anytime you have those countries, as Ernesto Amador would say, hasta en las canicas, they're going to go at it, right?
Well, it's a very big fight. Now, not only is it a big important fight for both, um, it's country now versus country, and they're so competitive on the field that I believe they're going to bring in this competitiveness into the ring, because sometimes it's not just you're fighting for yourselves, you're fighting for a country, and that even makes it more, I have to win. And I think on Saturday night, I mean, we're going to have, and I'm excited. I'm not just saying it. I'm very excited. You have a lot of names on the card. Azad is back. Ronnie and Negrete. Beck is here. Shane Mosley Jr., even though he's not fighting Quigley, he's in a tough fight. Victor Morales is back after a long wait and patiently training. And so it's like, it's exciting, it's fun, and I think we're going to have some very, very good fights, because some of these fights are make or break for some of these guys. And in the case of Rios and Negrete, they're going to give it 110%, because they have the eye on the prize, which is I have to win to get to that next level and to that next fight.
Now, Roberto, is it true that breaking news that you're wearing your son's jersey?
It wouldn't fit me. I would be looking like Antonio when he's wearing Beck jersey.
So that is your jersey, Bobby Diaz. Let's see. Come on now,
I might have
Bobby.
given it to him. He might have taken it out of my closet one day, and then I refound it back.
Yeah, exactly. See, so it is Roberto Diaz's jersey, not Bobby Diaz. And thanks for watching, Bobby Diaz. We appreciate it. I love how, you know what, everybody who's in the bubble working this weekend is not watching the show tonight. All of a sudden, you guys want to get on here, so we're going to start talking bad about you. What happened to Canelo's IBF belt at 160? I don't know. What's that question about?
What happened at the?
Right here.
Well, Canelo was going to give it up because he was going to fight Kovalev, move up in weight, and the Kovalev fight obviously wasn't done because he had commitments to fight Yarde, and they couldn't break that. By the time we got into the negotiation, the other side wanted too much money, and it was ready to go to purse bid, but there was an agreement that if we didn't make it by a certain time, he would vacate, and that's what happened.
Gotcha. All right. Another fight that's on the card this week, as Sulem says, Negrete and Rios going under the radar. No, because I said that's the fight that's going to steal the show if they both come at it and stay in the middle of the ring. You have Oscar Negrete, who just throws punches, stands in the middle, and Ronnie Rios. And if you guys have a chance, go and check out Albert Baker's Under the Hand Wraps. Go to YouTube, Under the Hand Wraps. He did an excellent piece on Ronnie Rios and what Ronnie's gone through after his knockout losses, when he lost here against Robinson Castellano in 2014, and also when he lost in his backyard to Azat Hovhannissian. And Albert Baker does great work, and just go and follow Under the Hand Wraps on YouTube. He did a 20-minute piece with him. So I'm going to use some of the stuff that he said on Saturday when on the Ring Reporter. I already submitted to my producer. I'm like, here's my Ronnie report for Saturday. They're like, what? For real? I'm like, yeah, don't tell anybody, but I'm going to use that. So it'll be pretty cool, and it's going to be a heck of a fight, those two guys. Kind of a crossroads fight, isn't it, too, Roberto?
It is and it isn't, because, look, when there's fights that are this good and this, I mean, obviously there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, unless it's a draw. Remember, we got a couple of draws when the fights were so even with Negrete and Franco, that if there is a loser, he could still come back, because it's not going to be, unless it's a blowout, and I don't see it being a blowout. These guys are so competitive and so determined and talented that I see a very, very good, entertaining fight, and where the fans will be the winners, and both fighters will move, in a different direction maybe, but both will move forward.
And that'll be Saturday on DAZN. You can go and check that out. Saturday be Todd Grisham, Sergio Mora, Chris Mannix on the broadcast. I'll be the ringside reporter doing interviews, roaming around, and it'll be a fun card coming your way. All right, now we've waited 39 minutes and 55 seconds. Beck the Bully against Morgan Fitch. Not Kovalev, but Fitch is a tough opponent. This one should go rounds.
With Beck the Bully, you never know what his rounds do, but I'm just happy Beck, he was in camp for 8 weeks, a couple months through the holidays, away from family. When the fight got canceled, luckily we had a show 2 weeks later where he was able to get a slot in. I'm very grateful that we were able to find an opponent willing to fight him, because I made a lot of calls and there wasn't a lineup of people wanting to fight him. Morgan Fitch is a fighter that's been around. He was in the gym. He was training. He's fought for us in the past. And I saw him today. He's very, very focused, grateful, and motivated. He knows a win right now. When a fighter is in a position like Morgan is, look, there's nothing to lose and everything to gain. And that's a great position sometimes to be in.
And that'll be Saturday on DAZN. Antonio Diaz saying it's going to go 2 rounds. Beck. Okay. Well, then if if it goes 2 rounds, that means there's more airtime for Beto Visión. They'll be using more. So if it's 2 rounds, cool. That means I got to get my makeup done. I'll be all right. Don't worry. By Saturday, I'm going to be looking skinny. Don't worry about me. Hair's going to be brushed and everything. Gonzalo Torres, just to answer your question. Thanks for joining us right now. Coach Diaz is actually in Istanbul on his way back. He'll be at Fantasy Springs on Saturday in Beck the Bully's corner. Max Palacios asked Roberto, when Canelo was at 160, why didn't you guys make the deal with the IBF for him to defend his belt against Derevchenko and then become undisputed against Andrade? I don't know how much detail you can get into, or if even you're allowed to touch that.
The deal you don't make with the IBF. They were the organization that had the power of the belt that was the organization fighting for it. The deal was tried to be made with Derevchenko's side, and no matter what, they weren't willing to negotiate. And sometimes, you can't force it. And as much as we try to close the deal and make a good deal, I heard later that their belief was that, look, we'd rather fight Golovkin, even though it was less money than he would have made for Canelo. But they thought they could beat Golovkin and then make the Canelo fight even bigger. And that sometimes is the route to go. If you really believe, look, if we beat this guy, then there's more money here. And it's part of what is called a gamble. That's what it is. You got to roll the dice, and especially if the fighter and the team believes it, then you go that route. But trust me, we tried to make the fight, and it just couldn't be made.
Interesting. See, on ThursDIAZ, you guys ask, you'll get questions. Where else can you go and talk to the people that were in the room doing the negotiations? Not everything can be said, but you guys get a good gist of what's going on. Not just on the internet, Twitter troll feeds. What up, Mr. Guru? Let's see here. What else we got? Chicano Golf, 5 o'clock is the start time on DAZN. It'll be on DAZN, 5 o'clock we get going. That means I'll have my Francis Coppola wine on Saturday night. That'll be about 8:01. That'll be ready. But also Golden Boy on, I don't know if it's their Facebook or YouTube, but go and check out the Golden Boy social media schedule. On Saturday, they will be showing the undercards with a kid from Hawaii named Dallas Kaliopu, who I really like, his interview skills. That also have Azat Hovnisian, and that'll have Victor Morales. Don't know what time that goes on. I'm not working those, but I do know that they are planning on showing that on Saturday. Don't know who's doing it. I believe
our first fight starts
Maybe Bobby
at
can tell us, but it's going to be there. Let's see here. Okay.
I believe the first fight starts at 2:30.
2:30. I will be in makeup at 2:45, so I will not be watching that. So you guys think I'm joking too? I got to get rid of the chins on Saturday. All right, Freddie Pietro. What was the worst robbery that Roberto has witnessed? Ooh, that's a good one.
Wow, that is a good one. I mean, look, through the years, you see a lot. I mean, it's unfortunate It's unfortunate, but it's part of boxing. I think one of the worst. I gotta remember why I think this fight, but Eddie Landy Lara against Paul Williams was a bad
Ooh.
one.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, there's so many.
That's not good. There's so many.
Not that there's so many, but they just don't come to mind. But you know what? One that I use when I talk to management or trainers or fighters, and I'm trying to make a fight, and one that I use a lot because they tell me, "Nah, I don't want to go to that country, whatever the country is, because I could get robbed." I said, "Let me give you a good example. You can get robbed anywhere." And here's the example. Ryota Murata is from Japan, a big hero in Japan, gold medalist. And he fought for the world title in Japan. And he clearly won the fight. Clearly won the fight. And the decision went against him. And it was like, wait a minute. Wow, in his own hometown. So that just tells you a bad decision can happen anywhere. I agree. De La Hoya Mosley too, but without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, Oscar and Trinidad. I mean, you don't win a fight in the last 3 rounds. And Mauricio Herrera, I mentioned earlier, Jose Benavides. I thought Mauricio clearly won. Mauricio against Danny Garcia. Yeah, those are some of those decisions. Castillo and Mayweather, I think it was closer than what we try to remember, but I do believe Castillo did win the first fight. Antonio Diaz against Margarito. That's what Coach Cohen would say right now. That's what Coach would say. There's just so many, and then there's some fights that go under the radar that sometimes are not televised or big fights, and you're like, wow, how did they see this? But again, boxing is that a perception. I would like to say that it's something that it depends on what that judge favors. There's some judges that favor the aggressor. There's some judges that favor the boxer. There's some judges that it depends on what they favor and what they look for.
Okay. Arturo Alvarado asks, how are fights scheduled? Who schedules the fights, especially on a loaded card like this? Who makes the order and schedule? That's a good one.
It's a teamwork. I mean, a lot of times as we're putting the fights together, you're doing the bout sheet. Obviously, most of the time you start with the 4 and 6 rounders and build your way up to the main event. Sometimes there is no 4 or 6 rounders, so they're 8 rounders and above. But it just depends on the level of the fighter. Or sometimes, let's say you have 2 10-rounders. Why is one above the other one? You look at the opponent and the opposition. What is the fight that's closer in match and better matchup? So you save that one for later on, because obviously pre-COVID, that's when the arena is a little bit more fuller as it gets later, closer to the main event.
Okay.
I saw a question right now that I really like. Why don't great Olympic fighters always have great professional careers?
Roberto taking over as a host. Go for it, Roberto, because I'm enjoying my cheap.
Go for it. Because that's a good question, and you see it sometimes because the amateur style is so much different than the pro style, and there's some professional fighters that become very, very good professional fighters and champions, but didn't really do anything in the amateurs. It wasn't their style, and it sometimes when you stay in the amateurs too long, the transition of the amateur style to go to pro doesn't leave you. You still fight in the pros like an amateur. So what you're trying to do is points. Get a couple points, try to win the round. But you're fighting an opponent that doesn't care to land more punches or points. I'm just going to try to land the harder punches and knock you out. And eventually now you're not fighting 3 rounds. You're into the 8th or 10th round, and you're not lasting that long. So it has a lot to do with the transition. It's not so easy, the development sometimes for some of these amateurs, because maybe they've been in there too long in the amateur system.
as he says, Cubans, cough, cough. That was the Cuban School of Boxing is completely different. And cough, cough. So we'll go with that. Oh yeah, you're listening to ThursDIAZ, another edition. Coach Diaz is actually traveling back from Turkey, from Istanbul. He's actually at the airport right now. And then let's see here. Roberto's at the bubble. I'm on the bubble. Questions are coming in. So this is pretty cool. It's Ask the Matchmaker. Get some good ideas, good stuff going back and forth. And now you can be the smarter boxing fan. Outlaw, I'm not going to say that because that's like business, so we'd rather not say the business stuff because you really can't say much. Okay, this is a good one. Can legal action be taken against YouTubers who say Golden Boy is corrupt? No, you can't. But what do you say that to that, Robbie? Because you work so hard in the fight game every single day. It's your life. You take a lot of pride in it. When people are like, "Oh, it's fixed. It's this or that. It's corrupt." It's like, it just stop drinking when you say this. It sounds smarter, but when you hear that, I cringe. How do you feel?
You know, you get used to it. At first, yes, you're upset. No, you guys don't understand, but you get tired of trying to explain. Look, maybe a lot of these people that say it hear it and hear it from somebody else and hear it, and then they try to say like they know something and try to, in boxing that happens a lot. Well, I know somebody who said somebody that knows somebody that Don King's robbed them. And how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, because my friend told me, and I heard him here talk to some. I mean, that's boxing, but maybe back in the day,
Yeah.
in the 50s and in the 30s and the 40s, 50s, when it was run by the mob and this and that. Today is so much different. It's not like that.
So many regulations.
There's all kinds of stuff you still see in other countries when you go and then the deck's stacked against you. But you see fighters overcome, and that's what fighters do. You go through it and you learn, you get experience, and you get better. But to think it's corrupt and it's not like that. It's not like we're back in those days. I mean, bad decisions happen. When we say corrupt, okay, there was a team in baseball that was doing different signs. That's not corruption. That's cheating. But that's not corruption. Is there cheating in boxing? Yes, absolutely. Everybody's trying to get an advantage over whether it's teams or what. There is cheating. I mean, it's been whether it's banned substances, whether it's tampering of gloves, whether it's bricks in the wraps. I mean, it's happened. It'll probably continue to happen. But that's why the commissions are there. The inspectors are there to make sure that there is no cheating, and there's VADA testing, and there's so many things now implemented to prevent or deter, but it's never going to be 100% like unbreakable, because it's human nature that you try to have that edge over. Not that it's right, but people try. They always try.
Yeah, there's look, I grew up as an official. When I was in high school, I would referee whatever sport was going on. In college, I actually paid my way through some of college I was a softball umpire for high school games and men's slow pitch, high school football games. And as a referee, you know the rules. You got to go through so much training, and you're still going to have people that just suck at their job. It's not for lack of effort, but it's the way that they interpret things. And you're going to get that in boxing, whether it's a referee who likes to get in there, the metiche, and break up every single time they clinch, or there's some that just let them go too far. And you're going to have judges that just have a bad night at times, where they see things different than everybody else. There's also times where the judges are, I'll say this, having sat ringside, you have judges who can't see some of the fights sometimes because it's not in front of them at time, and they'll be turned around for it. And so everybody, like, we go back and forth, like the ref did this or the judge did that. I'm like, did you really watch the entire 3 minutes of it? No, because you were at home tweeting, drinking, talking trash with your friends, making bad jokes, During those 3 minutes of that, you probably saw 20 seconds of it. So if you're a fan who wants to be that guy who says like, or lady who's like, oh, there, this is that, sit down for 3 minutes, actually watch the entire round with no sound, and just see what you can do. Now, do judges have bad nights? Yes. Do referees have bad nights? Yes. Is there corruption? No, because
And you know what, Beto? You hit the nail. Everybody has a bad night. We're at home sometimes watching it, and we can rewind and watch or see the replay and say, "Oh, see, I saw it. I saw it the first time." But the referee has one of the hardest jobs in all boxing because you're in there and it's split seconds. It's split seconds, and as much as sometimes it upsets me when I watch a fight or one of our fights and it gets stopped early, I rather it 100 times be stopped too early than too late.
Yep.
Because that's somebody's life right there. And when they stop it too early, what's the worst that happens? Yeah, you got called and then you lost the fight. But guess what? You're going home to your kids, your wife, and family. And if stop it too late, you may not have that opportunity. So I'd rather err on the side of safety in that case.
Yeah, and a lot of times with the referees in there, they are so close. They see the eyes, the way the eyes react, the way the body reacts. Where in the crowd, you don't. Even myself as a broadcaster sitting ringside, you don't see some of the things until you have the replay. So I don't envy the referees or the judges. You have to make the split decision, and they're not allowed to make a mistake. They're not, and they usually get everything right. And kudos to anybody who gets in there as a judge, as a referee, because you know that you're going to get criticized and ridiculed immediately. So it's a tough job, but we need them because if they're not there, then we don't have a fight. We don't have a fight. There you go. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go with Arturo Alvarado. Alvarado's got some good questions. Now, when you make a fight, do you plan on making a good co-main event? Let me tell you this. When Roberto Diaz is making a card, every damn fight's going to be a good card. Hypothetically. But
yes.
Do you think the co-main, you got to put more oomph into it a little bit?
Well, you want to give. I mean, I always like an event. I try to sit myself and say, as a fan, would I pay to see these fights? And right now, especially with COVID, it's been slower. A lot of these fighters have been training for a year and waiting for their call. It's making it a lot easier because when you're calling, when you pick up that phone and make that call and say, I got this fight today, it's easier to make these fights because they want to fight. So in the past, maybe when there was so many shows back to back to back, you know what? I'm going to pass on this one because that opponent's a little too tough or we're not ready for that level yet. No, okay. But today, a lot of these fights are being made because, look, I just want to fight. I don't care who's in front of me.
Oh, did we do Roberto? Oh, don't tell me he froze. Oh, okay.
I'm here.
Yeah. Keep on talking, Bobby. Keep on talking. You're good. The picture froze, no problem. But you're sounding good.
So a lot of times right now, it's making from bottom up, just competitive fights, building fights for some of these youngsters. We have a pro debut on Saturday night, and we're very excited to see him. And it's just little by little, you step them up. So depending on where they are in their career, sometimes it's okay. You've had the progress, you've had the buildup. Now it's time to shine. Now it's time to show what you've learned in the past. And there's fights where you're going to be tested every so often.
You're going to be tested. Jose Martinez, Roberto, what do you think of replay? Should they keep it or not use it? I know in Vegas it's helped.
I love it, and I'll tell you why. Pablo Cesar Cano and Ruslan Madiev. Yep. That's a perfect example of when replay works. For those that don't remember that fight or don't know that fight, it was a international title, WBC title, who implements the instant replay. And here we go with the example of a human error, a mistake. The referee, there was a nasty cut on Pablo. I think you called that fight, Beto.
Yeah, I was working that fight. It was on ESPN. I was working. Russell Mora was a referee. We were at the Hard Rock.
We're at the Hard Rock. The fight, Cano's clearly winning the fight, but there's a nasty cut on his forehead. The fight gets stopped, unable to continue. the decisions awarded to Ruslan. I get in the ring. Ruslan was not our fighter. He was actually a Triple G fighter, and this was a couple nights prior to Canelo Triple G.
Mm-hmm.
I get in the ring. I'm very disappointed. I'm hurt because Cano was doing everything right up until the cut. And I see the cut on Cano's forehead. If it would have been on his eye, on the bridge of his nose, underneath, I probably would have been like, we lost.
Yep.
But when I saw how bad the cut was, and on the forehead, I said, there's no way that could have been a punch. There's no way it could have been a punch. That had to have been an elbow or a headbutt. And we argued, we disputed, put it on camera. Razo called the truck, put it on the video, and sure enough, you see it. You see a headbutt. The instant replay worked. And you know what? The right fighter won. And it wasn't just about winning a fight. If Cano loses that fight, this was his comeback fight. If he loses that fight, his career is probably over. He retires. That's it. Because he won the fight, he went on to fight Jorge Linares, get paid, beat Jorge Linares, and resurrect his career to where, obviously it hasn't been as active as he's wanted because of COVID, but resurrected his career to where now there's big possibilities and big fights coming up for him, and good fights.
Yeah, that was the first night that instant replay was being used in the state of Nevada, and they were using that night as a test run. So I was ringside reporter. I was in there. I asked Roberto Mora what happened. He said fight end result of a punch. And inside the Hard Rock, you guys had the big screens there, and the replay showed, and it got the whole crowd go, ooh, and then that's what led them to go and check the instant replay, and then it was overturned. And Russell Mora, to his credit, was like, look, I had to make a decision right then and there. I rolled it as a punch, and he explained to me on the microphone that, and he told me, he's like, no problem with it being overturned as long as we get it right. And I think you hear that in the NFL, you hear that in baseball, and you hear that in basketball too, where they're using replay now. It's you want to have the human side as much as possible, but if you see something wrong, you want to be able to overturn that, not to benefit somebody, but to get it right. Especially, as you said, in this kind of case where somebody's career completely be affected. And to the credit,
it affects so much.
Ruslan and Madia were like, it happened.
Yeah, and it affects so much that if Cano would have lost, I don't remember what his purse was, but his next fight could have been 10,000 versus the win. His next fight could have been 100,000. So it's a big difference of where you're at, what a loss can do at what point of your career because of a mistake. I mean, if you lose, you lose, and you congratulate the winner, but because of a mistake. So I am definitely a big supporter of the instant replay.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's Aston Matchmaker, Roberto Diaz coming strong. We're in the bubble, so I got half a bottle of wine left from Bogle, which was on sale today at Albertsons, by the way. $7.99. It's normally a $14 bottle. So I'm feeling good. I'll do the podcast later. Put it up there. I haven't eaten yet, so it's kicking in. So I'm feeling good. What else we got? I got my charger. So make sure you guys rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Marco Favela. Roberto, do you have any good Don King stories?
To be honest, not too many, because I really, work or negotiate with him. I have two stories that stick out. We were in Venezuela, I believe, and we're going to go have lunch with Gilberto Mendoza, the president of the WBA, but up this huge hill. And most of the time you go up on motorcycle, and I think we went up in a little Jeep. And I remember, Don's, this was maybe 5-6 years ago. Don's probably close to 80 at the time. I'm probably in my 40s. So I'm half his age, but I get up there and I don't even feel like eating anymore because I'm so dizzy. And I get up there and he's waving the flags and having a good time and ready to eat. And I'm thinking, holy crap, how is this guy 80 something years old and he didn't get dizzy coming up here? I mean, we went in different vehicles, but still, we went up from the same place to the same place. And I'm like, this is crazy. I hope one day, um, I'm going to be as active, as energetic, as fast and smooth, you know, as he is at his age. So that's one. And then the other one, the personal one, dealing with him, is I try to do a fight with uh, Alberto Machado against a kid that he had. It was a mandatory, and no joke, 7 months to make that fight. 7 months to make that fight.
How long does it normally take?
You got 30 days. If you don't make it, then they go to purse bid. But he postponed purse bid. I'll talk to Gilberto. I got to get a different split. There's not enough in the split. I said, the split is the split. It's in the rules. No. I got to get. But the first phone call, he was so smooth. Because, I mean, like everybody else, everybody listening to us, you hear stories, you see him. I mean, he's an icon, one of the best promoters in the history. So when I get on the phone to start beginning negotiations, before he even says about the fighters, before he even says, let's, the numbers or dates, or I offer you this, what are you offering me? Man, this is so refreshing to hear you. How are you doing? How are you? How's your family? So it's obviously natural. All you're thinking of, wow, Don King is acting like he knows me. So you start like believing him and start falling for the hype and he could unfold. I mean, he could fold you up like this in a matter of seconds. And I'm like, okay, wait, focus, Roberto. Focus, don't let him win you over like this. And it was like, okay, Don, all right. Basically, I mean, with respect, but it was like, all right, cut the bullshit. I'm calling to let's make a deal. And I remember telling him, this is the amount I can pay you. And I gave him the number. And he says, okay, that's a good start. But what about my part? Because he's the promoter. So this is a good start for the fighter, but you still got to pay me. And I'm like, no, that's the total. Whatever you pay your fighter, that's the total. But whatever. No. Come on, Diaz. We got to do better than that. Come on. We got to work on this. 7 months later, the fight took place. But yeah, that was dealing with Don. In fact, I only wanted to go through email because there was a point where you said this. No. I never said that, Don. Yeah, you did. I remember you saying this. No. Don't put words in my mouth. Don, I didn't say, you know what, Don, from this point on, let's do emails.
What's his email like? Only in America at AOL? Earthlink, he still got that stuff. Yeah, it's Don put on a show a couple weeks ago. Oh, man, character. Max Palacios, you want to know the answer to that? Go to his Wikipedia. He went to jail for a reason, right? I'll leave it at that. This is a good one from Pablo XH34. Apart from Teofimo Lopez, do you see any other fighters that are trying to stay away from Mayweather mentality, meaning they care less about the record and more about the belts and who they beat?
I think we'll start seeing that more and more. I think props to Teofimo. It's a young man sport. Boxing's a young man sport. And I said it before he fought Lomachenko. I said all props to Teofimo for taking this fight. Not only that, for believing he can win. I didn't think he could beat Lomachenko. I thought he had already won in the sense that you're taking this challenge. That's what boxing is. Take challenge, dare to be great. And at the end of the day, you're going to learn from this defeat more than you've learned from these victories. Now, again, I said I thought Lomachenko was going to win. Teofimo, all my respects before it, and even more after, because he not only fought him, he won the fight. And look, it paid off, but it was a fighter who believed he was going to win. And when a fighter believes in himself to that level, it's hard to beat him. And I think little by little, you'll start seeing more and more of that era of the fighters back in the day that fought everybody, and that round robins that fight everybody and fight each other, and some lose, some win, but they get remembered as great fighters 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see him like that, and he's talking. And look, he's going through the business side too with Top Rank and what his might be going on first bid and his minimums and all that other stuff. It all comes down to the business side of it. So it's everybody wants to talk about legacy, but at the end of the day, it's un negocio. It's un negocio. Venomous Sound, is Diego De Loya scheduled to fight this year?
I spoke to his manager, Joel, a couple days ago. I guess he's getting back in the gym and everything in order. So, yes, hopefully we'll see him before the end of the summer, but, probably as early as May.
All right. Joe Arriaga, Beto, Eddie Reynoso has no real opinion on who Ryan fights, correct? I don't know. I don't talk to Eddie. I don't talk to any trainers about who they're fighting or anything like that. So I say hi, bye, cool. But Roberto, since you're here, what's the process of getting Ryan a fight now? It's different from when he first started. Now he's at a different level because he's attained an interim belt. So how do you go and make a fight for a guy like Ryan Garcia?
It's the same for regardless of the name or regardless of if it's a 4-rounder, a 6-rounder, an 8-rounder to a world title fight. It's the same process for him or anybody else. It's you make an offer to management. Obviously, management sits down, talks to trainers. Trainers always have an input because, look, they know the ability of their fighter. They know the ability of that opponent. They get back to the fighter has to have the input. They're the ones stepping in the ring. So it's a process. They all discuss it, and then it comes back with any other opponents. Is there other ones that you offer, or is that the only one, or is there a couple? Sometimes it's 2 or 3 that they choose from, or they tell you at a certain level. I mean, with Canelo, it's a lot of times, look, I want to fight this guy. So it's all a process of it goes through 2 or 3 people. It's not just one person that says, yeah, that's who we're fighting. I mean, that one person is going to have to check with the fighter. What do you think about this guy? What do you think about? And it goes back, and then it gets back to us to try to make that fight.
Okay. See, people, you're learning. You guys want to be a matchmaker? It's real simple. It's real simple. It's not I'm going to have this guy fight that guy. There's lawyers involved. And there's like lawyers who don't even know anything about boxing involved, but they know the rules and everything else. I'm telling you, if you want to be involved in boxing, if you know the law, I'm just saying. I actually talked to a kid the other day who said he wants to get involved in the boxing world, work for a matchmaker, for a promoter. What I tell him, I said, go to law school. Not with our lawyer, Curtis Gold, but if you can be a lawyer who knows what's going on, especially contract law, Al-Zahir, go to college, learn the contract law. Don't be like Rolando Arellano. What's up, Rolando? I know you ain't watching, but if you know the contract law, you'll be set. And if you want to get in baseball and you know that stuff, wow. If I was younger, I'd go to law school right now. There's no doubt about that. Our good friend Ruben Polanco, who owes you cigars, Roberto. He doesn't know that. I just say he owes you cigars. Oscar Duarte, what about him this year?
Oscar Duarte?
Yeah.
Oscar Duarte, yes, he's already, I mean, this kid's always training. He's right now in Torreon. He's been training, getting ready. Training not for a fight, training to stay in shape so that when he comes to Coach Joel and Coach Tonio, he's in shape, he's ready. That's a smart thing to do. He's not gaining the weight and then have to do a camp to lose weight. Hopefully we could see him in May as well. I'd love to see him back in May.
Yeah. Oscar Duarte is just one of the nicest kids I've ever met in all sports in my 20 years. Just real humble, real nice kid. Don't think he's a niño fresa. This was a badass, but he is just super, super nice. Wish me a happy Father's Day on Instagram. Wishes me a Merry
family.
Christmas. Yeah, good kid.
Yeah, great kid, great family. Big puncher. I'd like to see him. There's another question. Who do you want to see him fight? I'd like to see him step it up now. And you know what? That he's ready. He's at the part of that building, that progress, the little by little. He's letting his hands go. I think he's ready to fight somebody in the top 15 and start making a good move and a good run.
You know what I like about Oscar Duarte? If you guys haven't seen him, just go on YouTube. When he lost to a gatekeeper kind of fighter here in Indio, a kid from El Paso, he didn't blame anybody. He took ownership and he came back and he learned from it. Where a lot of young fighters would have been like, "Oh no, I lost my perfect record. What are we doing here?" And had some resentment, changed teams. It's not. I've seen him come back with. He was always hungry, but more of I can't afford to make a mistake, and I love that attitude from young Oscar Duarte. Gonzalo Torres, you asked what happened to Randy Caballero. I saw him last week. Randy's working. Injuries to his foot, his heel really affected him. Tried to have a couple comebacks, but every single time that he was training, he would re-injure his foot. He actually needed a major surgery. So he's a businessman, has his party supply business out here in the desert, and also has a barbershop. So
A barbershop.
a fighter that Roberto made.
Lots of love.
Yeah.
Lots of love for Randy and his family.
Yeah.
He was a fighter that, you know what, I got very close with through his career, and it was just tough to see him go through what he went through. Fought an eliminator in Japan, fought for the world title in Monaco, won the world title, and then not to taste the defense and stuff. That was tough to see. But one thing I always told him is Randy told his dad, told his family is nobody ever take away that dream come true. You won the world title and you were a champion. You'll always be a champion.
Yeah, and Randy and his dad went back to Nicaragua, were welcomed by the president. That was really cool. I'm looking for the picture of you guys in Monaco. And we've heard the stories before where there was only 3 Latinos in the crowd. And it was the team and then 2 other people you guys met at the casino. And I got to find the picture. Where are you at, Roberto? Where Roberto had the best outfit. And it was like a white jacket or something. Oh, just beautiful the way you wore. That's the picture of Randy when he won his world title. Great outfit.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but
Yep.
Roberto, the suit Roberto Diaz wore that night, just even more stunning. You're just a beautiful man. Just a beautiful man. Let's see here. Gonzalo Torres. Okay, here we go. Ryan Pacquiao. Any idea?
No idea.
All right, see, so just so you guys think, won't say, "Oh, you guys are avoiding our questions." It's just there. You go. Tony Sandoval, Machado Tanahara in Puerto Rico. No, it's going to be on Ring City, and I believe that's on NBC
Correct.
Sports Network.
Correct. That's a fight that's already done, signed.
Good one.
Very, very good fight. Former world champion, top contender. Very important fight for both of them. You know, the winner positions himself for a big fight next. You know, there is no more days of tune-ups. And see, that's where people have to understand and applaud these types of fights, because go and enjoy them. You have a very fine, like his name says, finito. He's a very good boxer, technician, but he's getting physically stronger and stronger. His body, you see it, it's changed now. And Machado, former world champion, big puncher. So it should be a very, very good fight.
All right, one more question. Man, good questions tonight. What's next for Elwin La Pulga Soto?
Oof. Elwin said it before his last fight against Buitrago. Should I be successful with Buitrago, I want to fight and unify my title. I want to fight Felix Alvarado. And Felix said after his last fight against JC Creel, he said, look, I want to fight Elwin Soto. So it's a fight that both fighters want. It's a fight that we're working on making very soon. And it's a fight that I believe has all the ingredients for war. It's one of those fights that, I mean, obviously anything can happen, but short of a headbutt in the first couple rounds, I see that fight turning into a war just because of their styles. I mean, I see that fight. They're both going in as world champions. They both want to come out as the unified champion. They're both bangers. They like to bang. I think it's a war, and it's going to be a hell of a fight.
That'll be, and at this point of the year, this not just this year that where we're at in this pandemic, it better be a damn war every single time. You better put on a show no matter what, because there are a lot of fighters that Golden Boy has right now that they don't have fights. They're training, they're staying in shape, but there's no fight for them. And look, we don't look Golden Boy's next card after March is when we don't know. So if you're a young fighter, stay ready. Stay ready. So
we're working on the April card right now, April and May card. So hopefully we'll have an announcement soon on those fights. Okay. I see a question for our good friend Lefty Ariola. How about Joseph Diamante Aguirre? Yes, Joseph is training. He's ready to go. He's out here in Cali training out here with Coach Joel and Antonio. So we're working on a fight between Joseph Diamante Aguirre and Mercito Gesta.
Whoa!
Heard it here first with Beto on ThursDIAZ.
Wow! Gesta and Joseph Aguirre. That means Pepe Gomez shows up. Venga, mi Beto. Woo! La de hoy. Oh,
La de hoy.
That'll be a good one. And for those of you guys wondering why I have a towel, my air conditioning is really, really loud, so I turned it off. And I'm using my lamp as my light, because if I don't have a lamp, this is how dark it is. So this lamp right here is just blinding me, and it's super hot. So I am sweating buckets right now. So, I don't have my fancy ring light with me, but this is what's going on. It's taking you guys behind the scenes of the good stuff. It's what we do. We struggle for ThursDIAZ. Today, Roberto's struggling with no alcohol. I'm
struggling, no alcohol, no snacks, and every time I look at the little square next to you, my eyes are closed. But that's because it's freezing. I'm not sleeping, everybody.
Yeah, and you're on your phone, no computer. Look, Coach takes a computer to Turkey. You can't even take a computer to, I know better. I know better. Ay, cabrón.
Ándale, ya ves. Se cayó el vino.
Okay, stay. All right. If you're listening to the podcast, no problem. No pasa nada. I'm not speaking Spanish. This time, let me do a commercial. If you are in the Covina area, go to my friends at Arrow Lodge on Friday, and you can pick up a Mic Drop beer. It is also a Beto Visión beer. Oh, snap. So you can go, in Corona, Arrow Lodge. It's my friend Mo and Mike Salam. Arrow Lodge, the mayor of Covina. We had this released 2 years ago. It's an Horchata Milkshake IPA. And Roberto, I swear to you, I've been talking to them. They do these collaborations with different beers. I want to do a beer for us in the summer. And they said, no problem. We can do it. So maybe a ThursDIAZ beer, a Roberto Michelada time beer.
Michelada time. Woo!
We can do all kinds of stuff. So if you guys want to go to craftbeerkings.com, they have a store in El Monte. You can pick it up, available on Fridays, or go to Arrow Lodge Brewery in Covina, and you can pick it up. It's an Horchata IPA, 7% alcohol. This is from 2 years ago. That's why the can is all messed up. They decided to bring it back, and it tastes good. It's only a little hint of horchata, but it's pretty cool. And I was honored that they decided to make this beer for me, and the microphone.
That's cool,
because we do here have that, and it was pretty cool. We had a party 2 years ago with it, but now we don't. So Nevsky's going, so I'm gonna get some. We'll take care of it. And you're thinking horchata. Just a little bit. You got to play with the Mexican part a little bit. Just like all the Uzbek guys wearing, sombreros. You got to play with the Mexican part a little bit. Let's see here. Chicano Golf, is Beto trying to wait for the show? Hell no, because on DAZN, we don't wear ties. So I can have 3 chins like I don't care. On Channel 2 on Sunday, well, I'm going to squeeze into my tie on. I purposely brought a bigger shirt because I'm drinking Saturday night. So for Sunday on CBS 2, yeah, no problem. Gonzalo Torres. How does co-promoting work? For instance, Munguia is with Golden Boy and Zanfer. That's a good one. How does that work?
When you co-promote a fighter, they've had a promoter that started them from the beginning, from 4 rounds, 6 rounds, they built them. And then they go on to a different co-promotional deal with a bigger promoter that brings something more to the table. Like, for instance, Jaime Munguia, Zanfer teaming up with Golden Boy. If he was ever to fight in Mexico, Sanford is the promoter, and does everything there. When he fights in the U.S., we're the U.S. promoter. But it's a partnership between the promotional companies.
So it's a partnership without giving too much. Like, why would Golden Boy want to work with another promoter?
It happens all the time because, again, you don't. There's so many fighters all over the world. There's so many talents all over the world that you can't have every single fighter, or at least there's some that think they can, but they can't. But there's fighters coming up, growing every day, and that promoter discovered him when he was 15 years old and in amateur tournaments and built him. And it's only fair that you work together because you've done all the hard work, which is building. Now there's ready for the big fights or world title fights, and they add you as a partner. And it happens all the time. We work with many partners in this sense of co-promotions. Miguel Cotto Promotions and Golden Boy are partners. Cancun Boxing with Pepe Gomez. In this case, Sanford with Jaime Munguia and Elwin Soto. And goes on and on. With Shu Kan, we have a co-promoter. Beck Demir Milsky, we have a co-promoter.
Oh, wow.
There's several different because you have promoters all over the world that'll offer you and bring you fighters that they've already built and invested and say, hey, let's partner up and get us the big fights.
Now, when you say co-promote, is it years, fights? What's usually the agreement?
It depends. They're always different.
Okay.
It could be a multiple fight deal, which normally turns into several years because multiple fights, 5 to 10 fights don't happen within 1 or 2 years.
Okay, yeah. Because I know with just the one I remember is Thompson Boxing has Danny Roman, and then they did 3 fights with Matchroom, and then they're not working together anymore. So it's just, that's what it is. It's you're here, but you want to use one of the bigger ones to get the bigger names, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's smart. I mean, it's just, but obviously by doing that, like if you're, say, Zanford, you don't want to give up a Munguia, but you still want him to get the bigger exposure, which is what Golden Boy brings. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's happened. I mean, Sanford worked with Top Rank for many years with Eric Morales and Guti Espadas, and we were fortunate to do a deal with Munguia when he fought Saddam Ali, and it was like he wasn't a mandatory. It goes back to what we were talking earlier. He wasn't a mandatory, so you could get this opportunity to fight for a world title. However, you got to come on board where if you win, there could be a rematch or there could be other fights. So basically, that's how you sometimes partner up.
And you partner up with the. What are you gonna do? And no, I'm not drunk yet. This is just the lamp is falling. All right, no problem. Oh, as we wrap up ThursDIAZ, good questions today, people. You know what? You ThursDIAZ fans, you're very loyal. You're here every single week because starting around 4:00, I started getting messages on my Instagram at Beto Vision. Hey, show tonight. Yes. And I appreciate everybody that sends the messages right away. We're doing it. We're doing it every Thursday if it's possible. I was actually on the Last Round podcast the other day, and it was pretty cool. People were asking me, and they were very professional. It was a good podcast because we broke down the fights and everything else. And I wanted to mess around a little bit, and they weren't going for it. So they wanted to talk about the fights, very professional. And at the end, I was like, man, I was waiting for you guys to tell me who I don't like, who I like, because I'm so used to the Thursday free-for-all, this Madre show with the Chusma, that I was like, hey. So I was looking really forward to this show tonight. So it's been pretty cool. Good questions and learning a lot about the business from Roberto Diaz. So anybody who wants to be a matchmaker, after listening to this show today, you should say no, because it sounds very, very difficult.
Run.
Right? It is. Because it's stress, right, Robbie?
It is stress. When you hear of a fighter getting injured or pulling out or not passing a medical exam, one of the toughest things to do is go to the other team who has sacrificed, cut weight, left family, trained hard for weeks, and say your fight's off because this happened. And you try to do whatever you can. I mean, to get a replacement. Recently on this card, we had two fallouts. Evan Sanchez was supposed to be fighting on Saturday. His opponent tested positive. Jason Quigley was supposed to be fighting here on Saturday against Shane Mosley. We had another fight from the camp of Beck's camp, stablemate of Beck was supposed to be on. Two or three opponents were submitted and not approved, and we ran out of time. But it's tough because they've been sacrificing, training, looking forward to just getting in the ring. And now we have one extra thing to worry about is COVID. Everything looks like it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, look, today, Top Rank lost their main event because one of the fighters, tested positive for COVID. We're under some very different times now.
Yeah, it's not like you can just find an opponent to fight Joe Smith on today's notice and to get into a bubble and everything else. It's different. So if you want to be a matchmaker, run. Roberto Favela. Roberto, how do you keep your mind sane? This sounds hectic. Go to Malbec.
Michelada time and that wine and the cigar. No, look, at the beginning, anytime I lost a fight or something happened that was, you think it's a unique situation to you. Again, like I mentioned before, you hear stories from people that have done it in the past, Don Chargan, and you think when you hear their stories, it was like, okay, so this has happened before. Yeah. And how did you get through it? Well, the show must go on. And you learn to get that second layer of skin and patience and understand that, look, it's going to happen. And if the fight falls out, you got to reschedule your guy as soon as possible and when the opportunity fits. But sooner or later it'll happen and he'll be able to get in that ring. But just different circumstances. We learn from the fighters that we work with. And if something happens, what do I do? Do I sit down and close the door and not come out? Or do I go out for that next round and try to go harder and harder and harder, and you learn from the athletes we work with.
Well said. You got to learn from them. And you got to put a job together. You got to get things done. And you got to make sure that your son is able to wear his Versace and Gucci and all that fancy stuff without having a job, Hijo de papi. What's up, Bobby? I know you're watching. Plans for Sulem Urbina and Marlena Esparza. What are their plans for? That comes from Fino Boxing.
Yes, I saw Fino had some very good questions, one after another. Yes, I would have loved to. I mean, obviously, with more time, Beck would have definitely said, hey, let's go with Joel Smith. In fact, as I crossed with them today, they said, hey, can we do the fight here and then head over to Vegas to sub for and fight Joel Smith? And I laughed and I said, you know what? You guys would say that because with Beck, that's his attitude. You know what? It possibly could have worked, but right now with COVID, leaving one bubble to go into another bubble, it just the timing wasn't there. Obviously, with more time, it could have been negotiated. I think he was, man. Beck just likes to step in the ring. If he could do it, he could be the first fight of the night and the last fight of the night. I think he would do it. Guy likes to hear that bell ring and just pound those fists and go out and let them go. And Marlene, we're actually finalizing a date, finalizing the contract with Yvette Zamora for the world title. She is the mandatory. And then, yes, definitely, I've been in talks with Sulem to get her right back in and start getting her back in that mix and a couple fights and then get back into that world title contention.
Well, look at that. There is a lot of news tonight on ThursDIAZ. Roberto, you took your test today, right?
I did.
How many have you taken?
I didn't come to the July show because I didn't want to do the test, especially after watching videos of you crying after they tested you. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I feel.
Here's why I bring that up. whoever Golden Boy hires, and I know they're professionals and they do a great job. I've taken 36 tests after today. I've taken 36 of them. The only ones that have made me cry are the Golden Boy testers. Like they do
Well,
not.
it's funny you say that because I mean, I haven't been tested a lot. I would say I've probably been tested maybe 6 times. And the times that I've been tested, I mean, it was here in the October fight, the Dallas fight, again here today, and then a couple outside. But they're very good here. So I don't know. Maybe you're getting the wrong one. But my girls, I'm like, because I get so anxious. I'm like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. And then, but I put my head all the way back so it could be straight, like straight back. And when they're done, I'm like, is that it? Wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought. So I'm like, okay, next.
Yeah, no, they come after. They hit me hard. Yeah, I've taken, like I said, every week for Channel 2, I have to take one. I've taken, today was number 36, and I cried today. It got me that tear. The girl came up, and she got a little bit of brain. So, I mean, it was, yeah, it's all right. So, I don't know. We'll be good. So, Saturday night on DAZN, you'll be able to see Joseph Diaz Jr. defends his belt on the his first title defense. Then the co-feature will be Patrick
Teixeira in his first title defense.
In his first title defense against Brian Castano. And the Boggle wine has been really, really good. Thanks to everybody who's listening right now. Oscar Negrete, Ronnie Rios, Beck the Bully will be on the card. Shane Mosley. The zone card starts at 5 o'clock. Go and check it out. Sergio Mora, Chris Mannix, Todd Grisham on the play-by-play. I'll be the ringside reporter roaming around. And then go and check out the Golden Boy social media pages or ask Bobby Diaz or Bobby Digital and see what time they're going to start the undercards. I think it's on the Golden Boy Facebook page. I'm not too sure.
Correct.
Where it's at. Okay, it is on the Golden Boy Facebook page. I don't know what time, but you'll be able to see. Don't miss out on this kid, Dallas Calliope from Hawaii, 20 years old. I saw a couple videos of his. I really like his approach and his attitude, and he comes after it. And he has a big following in Roberto, Hawaii. So that kid's going to be, it's going to be breakfast in Hawaii. Mahalo and aloha to everybody out there in the 808. Coach Diaz will be in the bubble, so I'll talk to him about what's going on. So, and also for Saturday, I got me a new coat, Roberto Diaz style, where I went and bought a brand new jacket for the show. So I'm going to wear purple.
I love it. I'm excited.
Yep.
And Bobby, yes, I did bring your coat. Because he says he wants to match with Beto on Saturday.
Yeah. So I'm wearing plum. It was picked by my daughter, Michaela. We went to the Hollywood Suit Outlet for $60. Got the jacket. Tony El Sastre cost me $20, so $80 jacket. So I'll be looking muy fancy. All right, thanks to everybody who brought the questions in. We appreciate you guys. I did not finish the bottle, but I'm close to it.
You'll finish it.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll finish it. And Roberto, I'm very disappointed that you don't have any wine with you.
Nada.
Nada. I'm disappointed in your son.
I'm in the fighter mode now. I'm in the bubble. I'm in the fighter mode.
But you're not fighting.
Come Saturday. I know, but I get into that mentality. So I had salmon for dinner today, trying to make weight tomorrow, and then you know what? Vámonos.
Hey, how come Razo didn't even watch the show tonight?
Well, he's probably out there dancing, listening to music, and having a few micheladas himself.
But he's in the bubble.
No, but he's probably doing tests or getting some kind of paperwork, getting everything ready. He's probably exhausted or taking a little nap, a break, because it's tough. You got to go through a lot of paperwork and submit tests and prepare everything. And Ernie and everybody's been doing a great job. Joelito's back from Turkey, and then, weighing fighters and directing them to where they can work out through this bubble. It's different, but everybody's doing their thing because we just love what we do and want to get the show to be, as good. There's never the perfect show, but you want it to be very close to perfect.
Yeah, and as much as we harass Razo and get after him and make fun of him and have a great time with him, Razo, when it comes fight week, gets down on the work, especially now that he's in charge of the COVID test and everything else. So when you show up to the COVID testing, it's not Razo, it's Javier. He is boom,
Ooh,
boom, boom, and you love to see it because everybody's stepping up. And even with the DAZN, the people that I work with on the broadcast, the producer is the one who brought me my meals because everybody just steps up and you do different kind of roles. So it's all for you, the fans, and fans aren't allowed here, but it's to bring you a good show on Saturday night. I said the DAZN show will start at 5 o'clock. LA time, check it out. I think Beck is the first one, if I'm not mistaken, so do not miss on
that's
that.
correct.
Beck is the first one, and Donio said it's 2 rounds, so that means we're gonna have some professional feels. So will be me. Lots of Beto Vision available for you. All right, appreciate all the questions. We will see that. Rate, review, subscribe. Leave the comments on the iTunes page. It's now available on Google Play for everybody who has an Android. If you have the green dots, all that other good stuff. So thanks to everybody who provided the questions. Arturo Alvarado, Chicano Golf, Fino Boxing, Marco Favela, and everybody kept asking all kinds of good questions. It was a ThursDIAZ edition of Ask the Matchmaker. And we're approaching our 1 year anniversary. It's going to be in
1
April.
year.
It's going to be
Wow.
in April. Yeah, it's crazy. And every single
Wow.
week, it's a brand new show. You would think we'd start recycling. Nah, it just keeps on rolling, Bobby. We'll see you. I'll see you at the weigh-in tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Everybody stay safe. Take care. Enjoy the fights. Don't miss them.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening for another edition of ThursDIAZ.